Hey folks, Quill18 here. In August of 2006, I started a YouTube channel. At the time, I was playing a game called World of Warcraft, and I was part of a guild that liked to do raids. Raids are big dungeons with massive bosses that you needed, especially at the time, you needed 20 or more people to defeat. We're a smallish guild. We tended to have to partner with other guilds or just invite just random other people to sort of join us to fill out the numbers, because we didn't usually have the numbers. And as a result, we spent an inordinate amount of time in every raid explaining the strategy for a boss fight before every fight. And so we take longer explaining the fight than actually doing it. And still, after explaining it, a lot of people didn't really understand it the first time through. So it usually took a few attempts to do it. And at the time, I was working, I had my own business, and I had a lot of computer equipment and different things like this, so I could do this crazy thing where I could record footage from my computer screen. And in 2006, this was almost 10 years ago, not a lot of people really were set up to do that sort of thing. And so I got an idea that, hey, why don't I record one of our boss fights, and then afterwards I can do an audio commentary on it, or maybe use subtitles to explain the strategy, and then next time we do a raid, we can just send people a link to this video so they could watch it. And there was a site called YouTube that was still relatively new. I actually don't know exactly when YouTube was founded. Several years before, but not that much. Actually, hold on. It was created in 2005? And it was in November of 2006 that it was bought out by YouTube, or by Google. So I have my YouTube account from before Google bought it. YouTube is only about a year and a half old. Crazy. I never knew that. That's interesting. Anyway, so yeah, and I would upload these videos to YouTube back when 320p was the only resolution available. Everything looked like it was videotaped by a potato. And put it up there. And then, you know, I did that for several raids and instances, and then I sort of went dormant at that point because other people had started doing these types of videos. So I didn't really need to make my own strategy videos anymore. We could just point to some other website or some other video and explain to people how to do the fights that way. And then a little bit later, I'm going to have to Google something else, actually. I don't know these dates here. A little bit later, a company called Riot Games decided to make a clone of Dota. Dota was a game I liked quite a bit, but it was just a mod for the Warcraft 3 engine. So the idea of something that was sort of a standalone, proper version of Dota, updated for more modern computers, was very exciting. I had dabbled a little with Heroes of Newerth as well, I believe. Right around that time, I can't remember what I played with first, but I got in sort of the alpha or the beta for League of Legends, and you know, this was a new game. A lot of people didn't know about it. It wasn't very popular at the time. There certainly weren't very many websites or anything like that discussing strategy. There's, you know, a couple websites and a couple of YouTubers maybe doing some things here and there. And so I decided to start making some YouTube videos again, where once a day I would post a League of Legends game as a different champion every day and talk about my build, why I decided to get these kind of items, and how I think maybe this champion should be used. This is way before there was an established meta or anything sophisticated like that. And then invite people to comment, because I really wanted feedback. I wanted to start a discussion. I wanted to start theory crafting, which is one of my favorite things to do about anything, about these League of Legends champions and how you should build them. And it was great. We, you know, start these discussions in the comments. It was fantastic. You know, it didn't have a ton of viewers, but everyone was like very hardcore into this brand new game, right? Whenever you have something in a beta, the people who are playing it tend to be the most fanatical and interested. So it was a great little community. And then one day, the League of Legends servers were down. They were down, couldn't log in, and I wanted to make my video for the day. And I'd seen a couple of YouTube channels doing this thing called Let's Plays, where they just play a game. Sort of from start to finish or something like that. And I mean, obviously it also has an origin in just text forums and things like that, or image posts and different things. But you know, there were some YouTubers doing it, and I liked them, and I followed them, and I'm like, oh, this is really cool. And so when the League servers were down, I decided, well, my favorite game is Civilization 4. Why don't I play a game of Civ 4? I like theory crafting. I can theory craft about civilization, you know, hey, what order should we build things in, this and that. And I mean, there was a couple of websites for it. They're still around. I'm particularly a big fan of Civ Fanatics as a website, but you know, again, it was a great way to get this sort of interactive dialogue. And all of a sudden, all these people from my channel, a lot of them were like, wow, I like Civ too, this is cool. And some people were like, well, I've never played Civ, but now I can start. which I thought was really cool. And also I got, you know, new viewers in. And all of a sudden, the channel became this strategy Let's Play channel. And League of Legends sort of fell off more and more and more. I'm like sort of a League of Legends hipsters. I played League of Legends before it was, you know, version 1.0. And ever since then, I haven't really played very much, actually, which is really unfortunate because it's still a great game. And whenever I log in, I'm like, I don't know any of these champions. It's like, I only know, like, the original pre-release people. It's like Annie, Blitzcrank, you know, those sorts of people. But yeah, so this became sort of this Let's Play channel, which is really cool. Now, the channel was growing, and that was kind of interesting. But at the time, especially early on when I first started a YouTube channel, the idea that you could ever make money from YouTube was just not there. There was no way to monetize YouTube videos. And even once that became a possibility, monetizing gaming videos was basically impossible. I'd applied for partnership a few times to see if anything was possible, but there's all sorts of weird fuzzy copyright issues that YouTube really wasn't interested in tackling. And so if you were doing footage from games, they're like, no, sorry, we're not going to monetize that. And you know, that was fine. I tried a few times and I was like, okay, that's fine. I'm just going to, I'd actually made some videos. I think when I hit my 10,000 subscriber mark, I think in that video I talk about, you know, how, yeah, we'll probably never be able to monetize it, but I'm never going to stop making these videos anyway. And then these multi-channel networks started to kick in. And what they did in exchange for a relatively substantial part of the income, they would basically sort of provide the sort of lawyer rubber stamp that YouTube cared about to allow you to monetize gaming videos. Now, it's more possible on YouTube to monetize gaming videos without a multi-channel network, depending on what game it is, but at the time especially, it wasn't really possible. So I did eventually join one of these. That was cool, you know, a little extra pocket change on the side. Nothing really significant. And what you have to realize in this whole context is a lot of people who become full-time professional YouTubers or live streamers or something like that, they do tend to be a lot younger than I am. I am, in the world of gaming, I am an old man. You know, a lot of people who do this might still be in school, like might literally be in high school or in college or university or something like that, which means they have a little bit more free time. They have far fewer expenses and sort of responsibilities. A lot of them might still be living at home, for example, or they might just be sharing an apartment with roommates, so their sort of expenses are relatively minimal. And so it makes it a lot easier for them to sort of make the plunge into becoming a full-time YouTuber or streamer, you know, some combination of internet person. I don't know what we should call these people, because there's no one term for a Let's Player or a streamer. I don't know. Anyway, moving on. But for me, I had an established career. Like, I'm older. I've been a professional computer person since I ended university 15 years ago-ish. Yeah, see, I'm old. Well, I'm not that old. There's plenty of viewers out there who are older than me, and that's great, but I get to see my demographics, and I know that the vast majority of you guys are a fair bit younger than I am. So yeah, so I've been a computer programmer and a general like IT manager and that sort of thing for a long time, and I had a job in particular that I really liked. I was working for a company I really enjoyed. I was a web application developer, which was fun. I really liked all the people I worked with. I had a great job that paid very well. But increasingly, you know, month by month, year by year, YouTube was taking up more and more of my time, and I could also see a lot of its potential. I knew the channel was getting bigger, and I knew that if I could dedicate more time to it, it would get bigger and, you know, become financially possible to give up benefits, a pension plan. Like, you know, one of those things is easy to ignore when you're 20 years old, but when you're in your mid, going on late-ish 30s, you really start to think about things like, I like having a pension plan, because one day I'm going to have to retire, and YouTube doesn't really have that. Holy crap. And I'm married. I have a house, a car payment, a mortgage payment. You know, I've got family to, you know, look after, kind of thing. And so I had a great career, a job I really enjoyed. but it was getting to the point where I was working 100 hours a week, effectively, more or less, 80 to 100, maybe something like that, between the two jobs put together. And I still, even with all that extra time I was putting in for YouTube, I really wasn't being able to take advantage of YouTube completely. It was, I was averaging maybe a video or two a day. Often one video a day as an average, I suppose, over the course of a month. So some days would have 2 videos, some days would have no videos. And I would get plenty of opportunities to do, to potentially collaborate with other YouTubers or do interviews with game developers during hours when I would be at work, at my day job. And not to mention travel opportunities, right? And that I might not have the ability to pick up because, it was too short notice and I, couldn't sort of book the vacation or I'd use my vacation time for the year or, some combination thereof. Or was at the same time that my work would be having some sort of important, conference that I would have to attend. And so, yeah, so all these things were coming together and I knew okay, the channel was getting big. But, well, my motto when playing games is what could possibly go wrong. In real life, I'm not like that. I'm very, very cautious. Because, everyone's gone through, some hard times, but I've gone through a stretch of financial hard times that I sort of, I'm really worried about that. I save. I'm really, really careful about, I don't spend too much, I drive, my car is a plain, no extra features whatsoever minivan. It's like the least sexy vehicle in the world. It was dirt cheap, and that's what I drive. And I'm happy to have, this crazy, boring minivan. None of those extras. I don't even have a screen. I don't have a GPS. I don't have anything like that. But I'm happy with that. I don't need anything more than that. So yeah, so I was like, I don't know what to do. But then, so last year, my birthday, I was turning 35, right? Sort of a milestone-ish year. And I'd come to a realization that if I got to 40, let's say, and I never gave myself a chance to try this crazy-ass thing of being a full-time YouTuber, if I never seized on that opportunity, I'd probably hate myself forever. I would look back on it forever as why didn't I try? And so last year, when I think I was about 100,000 subscribers or so, I finally, which again is way later than most people might do this sort of thing, I finally bit the bullet and said, okay, I'm going to do the YouTube thing full time. And I'd been saving and putting aside tons to make sure that and I worked out all the things. It's okay, if I go and I quit my job and I just do the YouTube thing full time, and YouTube explodes, just collapses on itself overnight, I won't starve. I'll have enough so that I can feed myself and pay rent long enough to find another job, for example. Plus, I'd lined up all this side contract work with some internet companies that wanted Unity 3D consulting. So it was okay, even if I don't not make any money on YouTube, I can do some consulting for Unity development, and we won't starve. We'll pay our rent. You see, I'm very paranoid about this stuff, which I think you have to be. If I lived in the United States, I don't think I would have been able to do it, just because of the healthcare concern, right? Now it helps with Obamacare and insurance is way more gettable. But by having a national healthcare system here, it made it a lot more viable to do that and much more comfortable. Although even then, there are certain things that I was getting benefits at work, that would be hard to give up. Anyway. But I finally did it. So last year, on my birthday, which is April 30th, so we're 2 days away from that as I record this, as a gift to myself, I said, all right, you're going to go, we're going to, if it goes horribly bad and literally YouTube collapses and the internet bursts into flames and nothing works, then, you'll have to get a job right away. But assuming that it doesn't go away completely, assuming it just goes, falls flat and it doesn't really work too well, I'm allowing myself 1 year. 1 year to try this. So it has been, well, in 2 days, it will have been a full year since I made that promise. And the good news is things have gone very, very well. I don't have the exact numbers of my subscriber base and view count in April when I decided this. I know that in late July, I printed up some business cards before I went to Gamescom in Germany. And on those business cards I printed in late July, it says 140,000 subscribers and 40 million views. So I figure around April, it's probably about 110 120-ish subscribers maybe, and maybe somewhere around like 30 million views, something like that. It's hard to tell because I don't have all the data, but you know, something in that vicinity. And here we are at 250,000 subscribers on YouTube. Whew. And 80 million views as well. I mean, 80 million is kind of an odd number. I wouldn't be celebrating that per se, but it's interesting that on the same week, it's 80 million. Of course, everyone's making huge noise in the house right now. 250,000 subscribers and 80 million views in the same week. Same week as my birthday as well. Which it all ties in very well for a sort of state of the channel address, which is what this is. But more than that, it's mostly just a massive, massive, massive thank you to you guys. I've said this before in my previous sort of milestone videos. I don't personally celebrate subscriber counts and view counts and things like that, because that's not something I did, right? That's something you guys did over there by clicking on the video to watch it and clicking on the subscribe button to do that. I celebrate when I hit like a video milestone. Like if I check right now how many videos I've put out, which will be different from what you see because my internal count shows me all my like unlisted and semi-deleted videos and something to that nature. Oh, it doesn't tell me there. I guess I do have to go to my actual channel view. No, how do I find out my count of videos anymore? Oh, if I go to a video, that will do it. Hang on a sec. Hang on, let me load up a random video, pause it right away, mouse over my username. It used to tell me in a really convenient location. Come on, bring up the stupid pop-up. I can't believe how hard they're making it to find some of this info anymore. I have 4,300 videos. So, you know, when I hit 1,000 videos and 2,000 videos and those things, I celebrate that because that's something I did. Like, holy fuck, that's a lot of videos. When I hit 5,000 videos, you know, which will, I don't know, will be later this year, I will celebrate that and treat myself for it because, damn it, I deserve it because that's a lot of work. But subscriber counts isn't something I did. But I do think that we have something really cool going on here. I mean, obviously it's really cool from my point of view. I'm not gonna lie, and you talk to any other full-time YouTubers and streamers, it's a hard job. There's a lot of work involved in doing it. Not just making the content itself, but it's all the stuff around it, right? Contacting publishers, uploading the videos, doing edits, keeping track of the comments. I used to say I read 100% of every comment, 100% of the comments left on my channel. I can't quite do that anymore. I still read most comments. I read almost all comments, especially on newer videos, but I can't quite read every single one anymore, and it makes me like horribly sad. But I still put in hours each day trying to catch up on comments and emails and being active on Twitter, which is now like sort of part of the job description and that sort of thing. There's a lot to do. Now, it's awesome. It's awesome stuff. It's cool stuff, which is why I decided to do it, even though I really loved my old job. I'm like, well, this is really neat, you know? But it's hard work, and but it's worth it to sort of make this really awesome thing. I tend to say my favorite thing in life, my absolute favorite thing, is to learn something new. But my very, very close second favorite thing is to introduce someone to something new. It's like, here's this cool thing that I know or have experienced or I have liked, and now I want to introduce it to you so that I can spread this joy that I had when experiencing this or learning this the first time to you. And that's strategy games and talking about strategies and showing off a new game. That's everything this channel is. But obviously it can't exist with just me by myself. I can't just make videos and leave them on my computer. It's about the interaction and needing the community. And as a group, we have built this community, you guys, by subscribing, by watching the videos, by commenting, which is a huge thing, a big part of the community. The reason I started doing the videos is because of the comments down there. And so we've built this amazing thing together. And, you know, I thank you guys for allowing me to be part of this community, because that's what that is. I mean, I can find work. I can get good jobs because I have a certain set of skills. Is that how Liam Neeson says it? I don't know. Anyway, but I've got skills to get good jobs. I'm not having to worry about, you know, my only option is flipping burgers. But you guys have enabled this really cool thing to do. Again, it's not easier than anything else. It's just different and all kinds of awesome. And as someone of a certain age, people of my age got to grow up alongside the internet in a way that no one else has. If you're older than I am, they're sort of like, you sort of grew up with no internet. And if you're younger than I am, you grew up with the internet just being there, right? But if you're in this sort of general age range, plus or minus 5 years maybe, you, with every year of growing up from like childhood into teenage years into young adulthood, the internet has become more and more real. Like, to put it into context, so I was born in 1979, and I had, my first console was the Atari, like the Atari console. Was it not the Atari ST, the Atari V, whatever. You know, the standard Atari that came with Pac-Man and Defender, Space Invaders and stuff like that, right? I had that, and I got the original Nintendo Entertainment System, and I got the Game Boy back. I was gonna say when it was black and white, but no, when it was green and other green. And in fact, I burned through 2 Game Boys before Pokemon came out, which is why I never played Pokemon, because by the time Pokemon came out, I was kind of done with the Game Boy at that point. I'd moved on to, you know, actual computers and different things like that. My first computer, a proper computer at home, was an Atom from Coleco, which, if you Google that, it was not a very popular system. So it's like pretty elite there. It wasn't a good one, but it was rare. And then I had the 286 running DOS, I don't know, with DOS 4, with something like a 30 meg hard drive. 30 meg hard drive, not RAM. It had, I think I had a full meg of RAM, which put me above and beyond my peers. And I had a video card that could do a full 16 colors. Actually, I might have had a 256 color video card, now that I think about it. Whereas my best friend, who also was lucky enough to have a computer in his house, he only had a CGA adapter in his IBM PC compatible computer, which meant 4 colors. 4 colors! And we played games on his computer all the time. And so, you know, but one day I got a modem, and I learned about the bulletin board scene, which is basically people running modems out of their, or computers connected to modems out of their house, with pathetic bandwidth capability. I mean, you got to remember, the World Wide Web was invented, what, 89, I think? So I was 10 years old when the web was invented. But I'd already started, I'd had experience with computers. I'd had experience with computers that weren't networked. And then all of a sudden I had experience with computers that were very simply networked through these BBSs. In fact, I even ran one. I had my paper route and a part-time job so that I could get a second phone line installed in my house to my room so that I could run my own bulletin board system, which, look it up. It'll like, it's super mega simple version of a website-ish sort of thing. It's more varied than that, but, and then finally it became, I got an account. I had a friend or an acquaintance or something that had a password to a local college's account for internet, which is all text-based, right? We'd telnet in, and then we'd be able to use a text-based IRC chat and Gopher and Usenet and different things like that, which again are mostly terms that don't get applied anymore. But so I started experiencing this, and at the time, I think I had a really good modem. I think my modem was a 14.4 kilobaud modem, which means its effective transfer rate when you're downloading a file was about somewhere between 1 to 2K per second, right? Because the modem itself was 14 kilobits per second, and then there's parity and stuff like that. So actually in practice and line noise and different things, it was probably downloading at 1 kilobyte per second, which meant if you had a 1 meg file, so that'd be 60K per second, 600K in 10 minutes. So it'd take you about 20 minutes to download a 1 meg file. What? Yeah. Assuming I got the math right. Never math on camera, boys and girls. It'll never work out. But, yeah. And then, finally, the actual internet showed up in my town. And I think I was doing something, I think I was paying something like $50 a month for 75 hours of internet time. Again, on this 14.4. At some point I updated it to a 56K modem, but not at first. And yeah, so less than 2 hours a day. And that was like the super elite premium package that like, no, I have it wrong. It's the other way around. It's $75 a month for 50 hours. For 50 hours, yeah, because it was less than 2 hours a day. And you had to use that real carefully. Most people just needed, something like 5 hours a month was enough for them, because they just log in, download their email, then log off right away, and then read their email, write their replies, reconnect, the replies would get sent, and then disconnect again. What terrible times. Now I'm sitting here with fiber optic internet in my house, being able to download a full movie, a full freaking movie at resolutions that didn't even exist at the time, in just fewer minutes than it takes me to make popcorn, which is maddening. Just amazing. So yeah, so I got to grow up alongside this. So the idea that I could make a living based on just talking at the internet is insane and science fiction and weird. And again, just thank you for that. It's just so special. And so, you know, I don't know. I don't know if, again, I guess everyone always feels like their generation is the most special and most unique for some reason. But in terms of someone whose life is computers and the internet, I can't imagine a more fulfilling experience than sort of what people around my age went through. Because I've always been into computers. I don't know. I had an uncle, I guess, who first introduced me. I think he had the Atari. I'm not sure. I think, yeah, because I think we bought it secondhand from that uncle. And then I think later on, he also had a PC running DOS or Windows or something at the time that introduced me to such classics as the original Railroad Tycoon, for example, which obviously had huge influence on who I would become. He's also the uncle that had the first D&D books I ever laid eyes on and sort of just like flipped through them. I didn't play them at the time, but I sort of read through these and like, this is crazy awesome. What the hell? So obviously it had a pretty big influence on what I became. But yeah, so I mean, obviously, okay. So that was the idea last year, was to do this full time and to be able to put out more content. Again, at the time I was putting out maybe as an average 1 video a day, maybe slightly more than 1 video a day per average, and I want to bring that up. I also want to put up more videos on the Quill18 Creates channel, which if you don't know, youtube.com/Quill18 Creates, I do game programming tutorials, and I want to do more content for that. And I have, but not as much as I'd intended. And the problem is always this, right? When I have a block of time to look at and I want to sit down and record, I always think, well, more people will be interested, more people will want me to make videos for Quill18 than Quill18 Creates, because there's more viewers on Quill18. The more people want to watch video games being played than, you know, learn how to program something. And in addition to that, it's a lot easier to make videos of me playing games than it is to do a programming tutorial. I always say an episode of a Let's Play, I always ballpark and say that a 30-minute Let's Play episode represents about 2 hours of work cumulatively. Right, because there's some prep time, the actual recording, and afterwards there might be some editing or post-processing. I got to upload it to YouTube, set the thumbnail, the description, put it in playlists, make it live, make sure everything is working okay, watch the comments, respond to a few comments, get some feedback. Now some, obviously, you know, they're relatively minimal, but others have a lot more. But I figure as an average, a 30-minute video takes me approximately 2 hours of work, based on how I operate. Different YouTubers have completely different workflows and amount of, you know, sort of relative effort they put into various videos, so that can vary. But I always thought that was a pretty good, you know, idea. Let's Tries take a lot longer, because Let's Tries involve a lot more sort of, I'm looking at gaming news, trying to keep an eye on, you know, what might be interesting. Then I got to contact publishers, see about getting a press copy. Then I got to get the game, get it set up properly on my computer to be recordable. Usually I play for a few hours to get a sense of it. Even a Let's Try is a first impression, so I don't play the whole game through or anything, but, you know, I'll put in 2 to 4 hours maybe playing the game ahead of time, and then I'll record it and put it up. And so now I usually say a 30-minute Let's Try represents maybe something like around 6 hours of work, which is why I don't do that many Let's Tries, although Let's Tries are important because sometimes you put them up and no one has any interest in the game whatsoever and no one watches the video. But sometimes you put one of these up and it just explodes and turns out to be surprisingly popular. And you can't really predict it. It's very hit and miss. One of the biggest surprises of, I think that was early 2014. Yeah, literally, I think early 2014, and was very influential in me deciding to do this full time, was the game Banished, which exploded. It was huge, and I never expected it to be. And it just, I almost doubled sort of viewership overnight when I started my Let's Play of Banished, and I would have never guessed that would be the case. So that's why it's very hit and miss. Sometimes it's great, sometimes it's not. But to contrast that, the programming stuff takes potentially even more time, because I got to think about what our example tutorial will be. I got to think about how I'm going to structure all the code. Sometimes I do a full version of it ahead of time to practice and make sure I've got, you know, I've got all the issues in mind. and then I record it, which takes work. Very frequently takes multiple takes to do a single episode of a programming tutorial. And then afterwards, when it's online, the comments are way more involved, and the emails I get are way more involved, right? They're not like, hey, what's a good country to start with in EU4? They're, listen, I'm trying to do this program based on this tutorial you put in, and it's not quite working here. I've attached like 2,000 lines of code to this email. Can you look through the whole thing and see where I got it wrong? And I want to try to respond to those, and I do respond to some of them. Not all of them, because I just don't have time, but this is a bigger time thing. So when I'm sitting down and deciding what to record, I'm very incentivized to do the gaming videos because they're easier and get more views. But I did want to do more programming, so I'm still, Plus, my plan was to take half my time, use half of it for YouTubing, and the other half for my own game development. But as it is, YouTubing just always fills. It's like a gas that expands to fill the available volume, and so I just, use it for more YouTubing, which isn't bad, but, you come up with all these plans and they never quite work out. But it has definitely worked out in any case. So here we are a year later, and I can definitely say I will be continuing. I'm not, stopping at the end of this year. Things are okay. They're not, they're not crazy. Don't get me wrong. Oddly enough, despite the fact that we were basically doubling the views that I got last year, like per month, the income is basically flat just because of how different models and things have changed online, which is fine. If I thought that was going to happen, maybe I wouldn't have done it. But on the flip side, we started doing more regular live streams. That was something that started explicitly at the start of 2014. Every Saturday at noon, I would do a live stream, unless I was like, literally like out of the country or something like that, right? Otherwise, there would be a live stream every Saturday. And I had gotten Twitch partnership, and I was like, okay, I'll put up the subscription thing. And you have to realize, I feel very, 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 very weird about asking people for money. Really, 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 really weird about it. To the point where, like, people, like, before I did this sort of full time, people would send me a donation, and I would refund it. Like, they'd PayPal me some money, and I'd refund it to them because I'm like, I can't take your money. Like, this is so weird. And I don't know what it was. Is it an aversion to feeling like I'm a charity case, or am I feeling like I'm taking advantage of people? But it actually led to some funny things in the past. Like, early on, this was, I don't know, remember when this was. It might have been like as far back as 2012, maybe 2013. I did like a sponsored video, a paid for promotional video, and people responded really poorly to it. And I was like, and people in the comments were like, if you need money, just ask for money. I'm like, wait, what? This costs you nothing. It was, like, as a viewer, it costs you nothing to have this here, but it pays me, which means the channel can keep going. But people are mad, and they'd rather that I ask them for money, and the very concept was alien to me. So it took me a sort of a long time to come around to the idea that maybe people actually, really like the channel and would like to support it to make sure it keeps going, and so that there can be more content. And so I slowly trickled into it, where, I allowed subscriptions on twitch.tv, and then finally set up an actual donation page. And that was good because up until then, Twitch basically made zero money. And still does. I gotta say, like, Twitch by itself is not a good way to make money at all, except with the direct support of viewers. YouTube, as long as you've got numbers, we can make it work. Although I'm very excited, YouTube is going to apparently introduce a thing where you can sort of like pay to have a subscription on YouTube to YouTube itself. And it's, I don't remember, it's kind of $5 or $10 or something like that, not very much. And it'll remove all commercials on YouTube, apparently. Again, I'm not YouTube, I don't really know, but apparently that's the way it works. And then whoever you watch, the money from your subscription gets split between those people based on how much you watch them. So if you just watch one random video of one person over here, they might just get a few cents. But if you watch like every video someone puts up, then they'll get the bulk of your subscription money, minus the cut that YouTube takes. And I think we can pretty much agree. I think that will be very good. I think that will be an excellent idea. And so, yeah, so some of that might be coming there, but it becomes available on Twitch as well. And that has really helped because of two reasons. One, again, the sort of YouTube income hasn't risen with the views the way one might expect. But also, subscriptions on Twitch, especially because it's monthly recurring, and not everyone, renews their subscription every month. But because it is monthly recurring in general, it provides a sense of consistency that makes a massive, massive difference for my stress level because I'm so risk averse. And I mean, it wouldn't be enough to make a career off of or anything like that. I'm legally bound to give specific numbers both on YouTube and Twitch, right? But I will say, like, the subscription is not enough to make a living off of in any way whatsoever, but it helps to provide a bit of a baseline that's good. And then you have the donations that I still don't know how to cope with them. It still blows me away because if you subscribe on Twitch, then you get a little sword next to your name. Not a sword, that's the moderator thing. You get my little face next to your name in the chat. A bit of prestige that way, I suppose. And you can use emoticons. And if we do ever have to go into slow mode when there's, like, the stream is, like, super popular, when, like, a big game comes out, Cities, Skylines, or even SimCity last year was super big. And the chat got so crazy, you had to put in some slow mode. And every now and again, subscriber-only mode. So you get, a few extra little benefits there. But you really get nothing if you donate. Partially because it would feel really weird to me. Like, I don't want to sort of sell something like that. It's one of the reasons I don't, I haven't arbitrarily put up a Patreon or anything. I've often thought if I'm going to do something like a Patreon, it would be for the programming channel. And it would be one of those where it's not a monthly fee. It's whenever a video actually comes out, then there's a fee. That way it's like, that would make lots of sense to me. Huge sense, because the programming tutorials really don't get the views, so it makes the most sense to sort of like support it in that sense. But anyway, the main channel, not like that. So again, with the donations, I still feel really funny about them. And really, you don't get anything other than the fact that when it happens on stream, you get a shout out for your name, because I get an alert and I let you guys know. And we're going to talk about how live streaming affects YouTube and stuff too, which I'm going to make a note here. How streaming affects YouTube. Don't want to forget to talk about that, because this is also sort of a state of the channel thing. And you get a shout out, and basically the shout out is effectively the same no matter how much is given, because one of the things too is I'm concerned about the fact that different people have different income levels, and that's just the way there is. We have 10-year-olds that watch, and they, obviously they don't have their own money, and then we'll have people on the other flip side who have like a long-term career making high 6-digit salaries who can afford lots of stuff. And what's nice about the donation system is the people who do donate, especially the larger donators, and you guys know who you are, really make more things, make things possible for people who can't pay. And so I wanted to thank the donators specifically, not from me. I mean, I want to thank everyone who has ever watched a video, anyone who's ever liked or commented on a video, which makes a big difference, anyone who's ever subscribed on YouTube, followed on Twitch, been to a live stream in Twitch, participated in chat, subscribed on Twitch. Thank you to all those people. Like, from me directly to you, like, holy crap, thank you for making this possible. But for the people who've donated on Twitch, I want to thank you on behalf of everyone else, that, you are making a very philanthropic sort of, generous gesture to cover lots of people at the same time, which is really nice. So, and no matter, if you give $2 or if you give a lot more than that, it's, it's all really appreciated, because, it means different things, or it means, because everyone's got different incomes. And so, numbers aren't specifically what's there. But anyway, all that to say, all this comes together to really help make sure that by having multiple little income streams here and there, that it continues to make this awesome community of ours possible. So just thank you, you guys. Right, how streaming affects YouTube. So again, talking about the sort of schedule, what am I aiming for? And I've dabbled with different amounts of content per day. We've tried different things based on, how much is this going to stress me out? How much time throughout the day do I have to do this? Also, how much sort of content can people just tolerate, on their subscriber feed? And it seems like there's no one real answer. Certainly if you go to the Reddit Let's Play community, they're like, whoa, don't do too much. Like, one video a day, even that's a little bit of a stretch. Maybe you should pull back there, buddy. You'll get more views, and it'll be more views per video, and it'll be worth it. It turns out it doesn't work that way. The more content you put out, the more views you get, and therefore sort of the more monetization you get. But there's a bit of diminishing return, and it really depends very much on all kinds of different people. After going to the Paradox press conference with Arumba, he really sold me on the idea of like, no, you can put out lots of content, because he does. He's very, very prolific. And for me, I don't think it worked out quite so well. I don't think that it really helped. I think it hurt my energy levels a bit more, and it didn't really result in a notable or enough of an upswing in numbers to make it necessarily worthwhile. So I think that the sweet spot is somewhere around 4 videos a day for this channel, where I try to have 1 video a day is sort of like grand strategy content, which right now is the EU4 multiplayer stuff, which I think is a very good series. I think most people will agree that the EU4 multiplayer content is fucking prime. I love playing with those guys. Now, one thing, if you're an upcoming YouTuber, I get emails all the time from people wanting to do collaborations, different things, and people will go on the Reddits or different websites like that, and you know, trying to do collaborations. Collaborations don't really seem to affect subscriber numbers at all. Even when I did the massive co-optional podcast, right? If I went there, which is hugely popular with TB and Dodger and Jesse Cox, every time I go through that list, I always like, there's that moment of stutter when it comes to Jesse Cox, because I'm like trying to use everyone's username, and then I get to Jesse, I'm like, what's your username? He's just known as Jesse Cox. I mean, I know he's technically got one, but that's basically the way it is. You know, so I did that, and it was, first of all, it was fun. We had really good discussions. It was incredibly enjoyable. But the actual difference it made on my channel is very minimal. Basically, on the day that we did the podcast, I got twice as many subscriptions that day as any other day that month, basically. So it was definitely better, but it's basically still just, you know, instead of a 31-day month, I had a 32-day month. It's not that significant. And so it's the same thing. The collaborations I do with Northernlion and Mathis and Arumba, for example, I don't think really bring in any extra subscribers, but they're insanely fun for me to do. It's the Friday when we record is one of the days of the week I look forward to the most. So that, you know, that's great. And I like that. And I think people enjoy those videos. And please let me know in the comments any feedback you've got about the channel. So I definitely want to make sure we've got, you know, regular grand strategy, paradoxy kind of content. I also want to make sure there's like a base building series going on at any given time. Typically that's going to be something like RimWorld or Prison Architect. I really want to keep that going on. Maybe alternate between those titles. Maybe, you know, throw in some Tropico or something like that. I mean, Tropico is not really base building. It's more city building, although at the same time it's not really like City Skylines, which is another series I sort of want to keep regularly going. So I've got a few that I'm sort of dabbling around. Pillars of Eternity is going to end at some point. We're not going to do a full Let's Play of that, I think, because it doesn't get that much viewership, and it's not the sort of content I normally make, so it's still a little weird for me to do that. And then somewhere in there, I want to slide in some Let's Tries as well. But then on top of that, we've got the live stream content, which brings me to one of the negative parts of what we've been doing here, which is I love the live streaming. First of all, the whole reason I do it is to give us a chance to connect with each other in a more sort of personal and interactive way, which is why when I do live streams, there's always the face cam, this thing here. And I clearly forgot to sort of groom myself properly for this. Fuck it. Yeah, so there's that, because to me, live streams, the reason I started it was, especially at the time before the subscriptions and donations and all those things, there's really no money into it to be gained from it, but it was a great way to connect with viewers through the chat more interactively, and it's great, and I love it. Now we have 2 regular live streams. There's also the one on Wednesday. But a lot of people would be like, well, I can't catch a live stream, or I can't watch all of it. We'll be on YouTube later on. I was always like, sure, people will want it on YouTube so that they don't miss something. But I always feel like the content we get out of live streams is not the same type of quality. Now, maybe it means it's not as good as a normal sort of Let's Player kind of content that I might do. But at the very least, you can't argue that it's different, right? There's more distractions. There's me pausing while I look at the chat. And there's like little pop-ups from subscribers and things like that. And some people don't like the face cam, for example. And the problem is, the more live streams I do, the less time I have for normal Let's Play sort of YouTube content, which isn't good. And then, yeah, if I'm putting all the live stream content on YouTube afterwards, that can prove a distraction. So there's finding a balance there will will continue to evolve, you know, over the next year. Like the past year, we tried a lot of different things, more videos, less videos, tried a couple of different ways to do sort of sponsored videos, and which is not something I normally want to do. And certainly, you know, over the past year, I think I've done 2, something like that. And I think in my entire sort of YouTube career, I may have done something like 10 over almost a decade of this stuff. And I think we've got a bit of a formula. Like when it comes up, it's clearly identified, which I think is very important. You know, it's identified now. We know, like, because I've done them, and I've talked about earlier how sometimes the first few times it backfired as trying to find this. But they're always now, they always have to be games I like and aren't interested in covering. So there was Grey Goo, that was one, and then there was Void Expanse just recently. And I don't know if there's been anything else since I've been doing this full time. I think those are the only 2, actually, now that I think about it, in the past year. The one for Grey Goo, which is an RTS that I was super pumped about. In fact, I was disappointed when I got the promo, in a sense, because I felt that afterwards I couldn't do a Let's Play because I'd be biased, or people would accuse me of bias, or this or that, or whatever. It was just really weird. I've got, like, I really feel it's super important to be mega ethical about this stuff. And then the other one was Void Expand, which I'd already done, like, 5 episodes of, and I liked. And they're like, could you make another video showing off the features? I'm like, yes, we can do that. And then they came back and they were like, oh, we want you to do a review. And I'm like, no. This is not how it works, buddy. So I trained them on what a proper video that I would be okay with would be, which is, I just posted I'm trying to think, was it yesterday? I think by the time you see this, it will be the previous day. It will be yesterday when that Void Expanse went up. So, you know, it's clearly identified in the title. There's a title card for it. So in the title of a video, but then also the first thing that comes up in the video, so, you know, mentions that it's sponsored, and then in the description as well, it's there. So, you know, there's no worry. And other than that, it's the sort of video that I would normally make. It's a standard sort of let's try, or a standard sort of let's play-ish kind of video, same sort of content and truthfulness that you would expect. But obviously, you know, that you still have to let people know, because I could be biased in ways that I'm not even aware, right? So I don't know. So I still don't expect there's going to be a lot of that, but every now and again something might come up, and, you know, I don't remember. Before I got on this, there was something else I was talking about. So yeah, okay. So yeah, so we're going to keep sort of evolving the number of videos per day, how much live stream content there is, what games there might be. I mean, we don't know where the future will be, and we'll keep experimenting. And I always welcome as much feedback as possible to tweak that. Do keep in mind a couple of things. A, try to be nice. B, try to give me the benefit of the doubt when changes happen, that I'm not actually an evil person. And C, try to keep in mind that your opinion doesn't always represent everyone's opinion, or in fact may not even represent the majority's opinion, which is a hard thing for people on the internet to keep note of, because one of the unfortunate side effects of the internet is that it tends to cluster people with similar opinions together, right? And this happens without you even knowing it. For example, on YouTube, but also Facebook or Google search results or your Google News, what you get, what they show you through their automatic algorithms, are based on what you've seen before, what you've liked before, what you've clicked on before. They try to give you more stuff like that, which means if you are a, you know, hyper social liberal type person, and you tend to, you know, click on positive ads about your sort of liberal government, and negative articles, I mean to say, negative articles about your conservative people that you hate, the websites are going to keep showing you those. So it reinforces the idea that this is what everyone thinks. And then when you meet someone who doesn't follow your ideals, you're like, what kind of freak are you? Are you mentally broken that you can't see things from my point of view? Because clearly the entire world agrees with me, because this is the continuous reinforcement that I get, the continuous confirmation bias that I get every day from my website. Or, again, people might gravitate towards certain news channels that might be heavily biased towards conservative or liberal policies, and you'll just keep watching those. And again, the message keeps kind of repeating. Then when you switch to the other channel, you're like, these fuckers are crazy. Why would anyone listen to them? And clearly anyone who watches this channel must be mad. Anyway, so don't fall into that trap on the internet. Be smarter than that. Guys, you guys watch me play fucking grand strategy games all day long. You must be smart. Don't fall into that trap. But also don't apply it to me. And your feedback. So feedback is good, but, you know, as always, just be nice, people. It's good advice. Yeah. Just looking at my little checklist here, I think I forgot to talk about travel. It's sort of past its time. It should have been earlier, but one of the reasons, or did I mention it? I don't know. But when I still had my full-time job, one of the incentives for going to this full-time was the ability to travel more for some gaming stuff. And certainly I've gotten a lot of opportunity to do that. A lot of it is via Paradox. You're talking about like a situation where I feel like what we've got to consider journalistic ethics here is what does it mean when a company flies you out somewhere, wines you, dines you, treats you really well to play their game? Is that going to bias you? Well, yeah, obviously. I mean, that's just if you pretend that it's not, you're just lying to yourself. And so, that's one of those areas where you have to be really careful about. I mean, I genuinely like a lot of Paradox titles, and there's plenty of them I don't care for. You'll notice I just don't play them, right? That's why I don't do reviews. I think twice I have labeled a video as a review ever, and that's it. Out of, what did we say, like 4,300 videos? I think twice I've labeled something as a review. Other than that, I mostly just play things that I like, or that I have some sort of interest in. Every now and again, yeah, there were videos for like, okay, this is a game I think my audience might assume that they'll like, but it's actually really bad, so I should let them know. And certainly sometimes I go through and, point out flaws of games that are otherwise cool, but mostly it's just like, listen, I can't play something I'm not passionate about. So it's self-selecting, right? I will, especially the Let's Plays, the videos I do are games I like and I can be passionate about and excited about. And just so happens a lot of grand strategy stuff is like that, but not all of it. I mean, it's mostly, I keep saying grand strategy and Paradox games. It's mostly EU4, right? Like, CK2 was cool. But I'm not that into it. Hoi 4, Hearts of Iron, is coming up. I'll play it because it's still grand strategy and I like it, but I'm pretty sure I'm mostly going to go back to a lot of EU4 after. And yeah, so, it's self-selecting, but at the same time, like, Paradox gets it, in a non-nefarious way, in that their games are very complicated. And if they want to make sure that press people in general can write about them, or YouTubers can Let's Play them, why don't we bring them out so we can train them? They're basically, they're not propagandizing us, they are training us on these insanely complicated games, so that way we can go home and play them on our own properly and know what we're doing, so that we can write about them or make videos about them. And it's really smart because they make very niche products, and it works out really, really well for them. There are other companies, which I will not name, that simply do not get it, especially when it comes to like YouTube and Let's Players. They're just completely clueless about how to deal with these people, both in terms of supporting them in general with products, supporting them with information, just supporting them with the ability to, say, monetize the content, so that it's sort of a win-win situation. Again, I'm not going to name any names, but there's some companies out there that really don't effing get it at all, and treat sort of this new media of YouTube and streamers and things like this as not even second-class citizens, like third-class citizens on the press rank, which can be legitimate in some things, right? Like, I read reviews by writers that, okay, these people really know their shit. They know how to be critical and analyze. Like not critical as in I'm just going to shit on your stuff, but critical as in I will critically analyze this game and find faults and pros and referencing it to other games and really doing my research, which I'm way too lazy to do. So I have a lot of respect for those people. But, there's also a role for this sort of YouTube-ish kind of thing and live streaming. And anyway, all that babble, 53 minutes so far, just to basically say, hey, 250,000 subscribers, how awesome is that? 80 million views, that's awesome. I think there's about 55,000 subscribers over on Quilly Creates. There's some overlap, but some of it is fresh there, but still, big crazy numbers, a year of doing this full time, and just my absolute, just most sincere thank you for you guys out there for supporting all this, either directly or indirectly, simply by, being here and viewing and telling your friends about the channel and doing all that and sending nice words my way. It's just unbelievable, and I'm really looking forward to another year of doing this full time. Yeah, if you haven't done it already for some reason, make sure to subscribe. Commenting and liking does make a really big difference based on how the YouTube search algorithms work. More people who like and comment on a video, especially like right away when it goes live, the higher up in search rankings it will go, which help make it much more successful. But you should also follow me on Twitter. Like, I'm on Twitter and Facebook, so there's facebook.com/Quill18 and twitter.com/Quill18. Facebook, like, that is like really minimal traffic. You don't have to worry if you go and subscribe over there, or like it, I guess, on Facebook. You will not get a lot of spam on there, because basically I only use it for like really major announcements, like when I'm going to do a fan meetup in a certain city, so that I can do like an event with RSVPing on there, or there's some other like really critical announcement, like time sensitive maybe. There might be something on there like oh, we're live streaming, but the Twitch email servers are down, so I might put a post on there. But it's generally, like, I don't really generally have conversations over on Facebook. But if you want to be spammed with a lot of stuff, go to twitter.com/Quill18, because I post on Twitter relatively often. That's like a really good place to have a little short conversation with me. I'm really active on there. So, I mean, if you don't want too much noise on Twitter, then don't subscribe to me there. But if you do, then do it. And again, Facebook, very low noise channel. If you're interested in programming tutorials, youtube.com/Quill18 creates. I think that's pretty much good. If ever you want to email me, people every now and again they'll tweet at me or ask me in comments what my email address is. It's just quill18@quill18.com. If you go to my profile here on YouTube, somewhere down here, then you click on like the actual main channel, then click on About, which will be above once you're on the main channel. You can get all that information there as well. But yeah, feel free to email me. I do read everything that I get. Very frequently, I can't respond, because there's a lot of it, and so I gotta apologize if I don't respond to something, but I can't always do that. But I read all emails and all tweets, and most YouTube comments, although apparently I've fallen a little bit behind there, and I really can't respond very often on YouTube. But I guess that's the sort of curse of success, you know. And things are successful. I mean, I keep meaning to wrap up this video. I never did this YouTube thing, and I've said this before, to be famous. I never wanted to be famous. I don't like that kind of just attention or whatever. I mean, if you see me in real life, like, you know, say hi, do that, that's fine. If it makes me feel good, it's like, you like what I do? That's fantastic. And that's really what it is. It's sort of an affirmation of what I'm doing. There's a word I'm looking for, but I'm not finding it here. I got like no sleep last night. And you know, I like the idea of sort of being important or respected or something like that. Like, I like the idea that people have used my videos to learn how to play a game or to develop their strategy. And obviously I'm not the best. I generally say I'm like this. I'm better than 90% of people at, you know, a strategy game, for example, right? Something like a Civ or an EU4. I'm better than 90% of people. But the 10% who are better than me are way better than me. And my only hope of keeping them around as viewers is if I'm vaguely entertaining. And that's really how I feel. Like, most people will be like, wow, I wouldn't even know where to push the first button. I'm like, yeah, 90%. And then 10% are like, I can't believe you didn't understand this one, you know, complex mechanic. I'm like, you don't understand. You're so smart. That's the problem. It's not that I'm dumb. It's that you're super smart. Well, sometimes I do dumb things. Let's not lie. And on that note, thank you once more for being here and being part of the community. And let's keep doing awesome stuff. See you next year. Or, you know, in the next video. Bye-bye.